And you'll have both feet. Hi everyone, welcome to the Dynamic Stretches for Strikers series. In this video, we're gonna do 3 ways to stretch the back of the legs or the hamstrings. So we'll start in a standing position, and you'll bring one foot forward, back up, and we'll bend the opposite leg, and you're gonna hip hinge forward. So feeling long from crown to tail. And then once you're here, you'll keep the pelvis nice and quiet. You're gonna rotate the thigh bone in the hip socket. Baby toe comes towards the floor, and then big toe. Baby toe, and big toe. This time as the baby toe comes down, let the hips shift in the opposite direction. You'll come back through center, let the hips shift again. Come through center, you're going to inhale around the back, and as you exhale, deepening that stretch, feel the sit bone reaching away from the heel. Then you can bring that leg and roll up, and we'll switch to the other side, bringing that heel out, bending the knee, hip hinge forward, feeling long from crown to tail. Pelvis stays nice and quiet as we rotate the thigh bone in the hip socket. First baby toe down, and then big toe. Notice how as you rotate the thigh bone in the hip socket, how that changes the way the stretch feels for your body. This time baby toe is coming down, you're going to let the hips drift in the opposite direction. Notice how that changes the stretch. We'll come back through center, opposite direction. We'll find center, we'll inhale, we'll round the back, and as you exhale, sinking deeper, feeling the sit bone reaching away from the heel. Then you can bring that foot in as you roll all the way up. The second way, we're going to use a chair, or you can use a ledge, whatever works for you. So you'll stand to the side of the chair, and you're going to put your outside leg up on the seat. Hips are going to be square towards that leg. Standing here, we'll bend the knee, and we're just going to tuck the pelvis. And then we'll let that release, and we'll let the hips drift towards the back. I'm gonna pop my leg in a little bit. And then we'll tuck the pelvis, and we'll let that release. And we'll let the hips drift back, and if there's still room, you can let the upper body sink forward. We'll come back up feeling nice and tall, tucking the hips. Getting nice and tall, feeling the upper body lifting out of the hips as you let the hips drift back. We'll let the upper body sink. You can flex the foot here and point the toe. And then we'll let the outside hip sink down. And then you can even turn to the back and just wiggle a little bit as you feel for the stretch on the inner thigh. Good, and then you'll come back through center, and we'll switch sides. And just taking your outside leg, you'll place it on the chair, and your hips are going to be square towards that leg. And we'll start first, we'll tuck the pelvis, bending the knee. And then you'll straighten, you'll get nice and tall. Feel the hips slipping back. If your pelvis was a bowl full of water, you'd be splashing water between the thighs. We'll get nice and tall, and we'll tuck the pelvis, bend the knee. Nice and tall, hips drift back, upper body comes forward. Here you can flex the foot, can point the toe. You can let the outside hip drop lower. And then you can come back through center, you can rotate this other foot, and then just wiggle a little bit, feeling for the stretch through the inner thigh. There's no rules or magic to it, just keep moving. Good. And then you'll come through center, and we'll roll back up. The third way we're gonna stretch the backs of our legs, you'll need a TheraBand, or if you have a towel or what is it called? A yoga strap, you can use that too. So we'll lay down on our backs, we'll have both feet bent, heels aligned with the sits bones, And you'll float one leg up and you'll place that foot in the TheraBand. You're going to leave your pelvis in neutral, so you'll feel hips and pubic bone are aligned. You'll feel a little bit of a gap in your low back. And from here, you'll just lower the leg down to a tabletop position. And then you'll extend to the ceiling, breathing into the back of the thigh. Let the upper body be as soft as you can as you float the leg down. Extending the leg up, feeling the heel reaching away from the sit bone. Here we're going to flex the foot. And then we're going to point the foot, feel the stretch, switch to the front of the leg, and then we'll pull a little bit closer. And we'll come back down to tabletop. And we'll extend the leg to the ceiling. We'll flex the foot, point the foot, and pull a little bit closer. And then you'll take that band and you're going to pass it into your left hand, and you'll let the right leg cross the midline of the body, pulling towards that left shoulder. Hip is staying connected to the ground here. And you're going to flex the foot and point the toe and see if you can pull a little bit closer. We have a lot of nerve endings through this IT band area, so not forcing anything, just find a place that works for you. And after you've pointed, you'll pull a little bit closer. And then you'll switch the band to the opposite hand. You can let that leg open to the side, pick up the left hand, hold on, or the left leg, hold onto the shin, and then we'll just wiggle, feeling for a stretch through the inner thigh. Now, if you feel any tension on the inner knee of the right leg, just add a little bend to that leg and wiggle. And then we'll bring the legs back through center, and you'll take your band or towel, whatever you're using, and place it around the left foot. You're in your neutral pelvis. You'll float the left leg down to tabletop. Let the upper body soften as you extend the leg. We'll come back down to tabletop. As you extend, breathing into the back of the thigh. And then we'll flex the foot, increasing the stretch through the back of the leg. We'll point the foot, increasing the stretch through the front of the leg, and see if you can pull a little bit closer. We'll come back down to tabletop. And then extend into the ceiling. Feel the sit bone reaching away from the heel. We'll flex the foot. We'll point the toe, and you'll pull a little bit closer. And then you'll pass that band into the right hand. Keep the back of the left hip connected to the ground as you let that left leg cross the midline of the body. And you're going to flex the foot, feel that tension increase. And you'll point the foot and pull a little bit closer. And you'll flex the foot and point the foot and move a little bit closer. And then you'll pass that band into the left hand, and we're going to open the leg out to the side. You'll pick up that right leg, and you're going to wiggle.